Hey guys, Joe here. So today I want to talk about something difficult that I had to go through today, and that was letting go of an employee. So, if you don't know anything about me, before this, years and years ago, I used to be a general manager for McDonald's. My uncle used to own, when I was there, he owned 8, and then he went to 16, since it sold them all. But as a general manager at a McDonald's, like, I am very experienced in firing people. Like, it happened all the time. The key difference with this one is, like, I felt horrible. One, I haven't fired anyone in like forever. But two, he was like a good dude, right? And he was trying, but the only thing was, and I had multiple conversations, I guess going back a little bit, like, part of our core values for the company is basically, like, there's certain core values that you need to have in order to get on the bus and stay on the bus, get with the company, right? And so two of those was speed, and, well, speed is king, and then the other one was about teamwork, right? And what was happening is he was never fast enough, so then that makes it where he's not able to be a team player, where he's actually, like, always asking for help, and other people are helping him and making up for him just because he wasn't quick enough. But what it came down to was that, and I've had conversation with him numerous times, that, like, it's not the job for him. He was good at it, as far as, like, the main thing was he was putting orders together and then checking to make sure they were accurate, so that way when they were picked up or delivered, everything was there. Which seems like it's simple, but, like, when there's a lot of things going on, like, it's very easy to make mistakes. Like, personally, if I was left to check on every order, like, I'd screw up 20% of the time at least, and that's just not acceptable, right? And the goal was basically, and I kept on saying, like, the goal is, like, I would say, like, your superpower is not putting the orders together. Like, you're really struggling with that. It's really with checking these orders. And the goal was to get to, next year, when there's, 15, 20 orders a day, where that was his bulk of what he's doing. But then when we started seeing is, like, he wasn't there, and then, I had other people taking over the position for him. And, like, we just saw, like, I always knew there was going to be a big difference, but it was like night and day. And then on top of that, we're seeing that we're just as accurate by having other people check it. And then, like, the check and order is only taking like 5 minutes. So even if we go to 20 or even 30 orders a day, that's less than 3 hours worth of work a day. So anyway, long story short, I had to let him go. Looking back, like, I knew pretty quickly that he wasn't catching on quick enough, but we were trying to make sure that he was, like, we kind of needed him for the checking the orders, or what we thought was we needed help with checking the orders. So that's why we kind of dealt with it and had other people helping and everything else. But what ended up being a big factor in everything is that we started looking at the numbers, and it's like, by the time everything's said and done, after I'm paying, like, payroll taxes and workman's comp and stuff like that on them, like, it was probably close to $900 to $1,000 a week that we were paying for this individual. And, like, for my company, we're already overstaffed. The reason why I do that is so that way we make sure that we have enough people in case there's, like, a big surge of jobs coming in, last minute orders, things like that. We want to be able to be that, like, last minute provider, so that way if there's a company that's, like, on the fence of using us, that if they get into a jam, that we can basically help them out. And then also to make sure we have the best customer service, so that way you're not waiting in line, like, all that kind of stuff. So, like, it sucks. It really does. It was really hard. But what we end up doing, and I had this idea afterwards, he is a photographer, right? And he also, he does, like, weddings and, like, that kind of stuff as well. And he does the thing, I forget what it's called. It's like larking or some shit. I forget. I basically say he goes around beating the shit out of people, because it's like the medieval, like, where it's kind of like cosplay, but then you're literally beating the shit out of each other. Say if you hit someone with like the stick or the joust or whatever, hits you in your arm, well, then your arm has to go behind your back, no longer use it. But what, I guess I should have said something else first, because I'm all over the place. But one thing that I told him, and I had this idea, I'm like, you know what, I'm like, look, this has really been weighing on me, but I think I have a solution that might work out better, right? And so what I came up with was like for job site photos. I know personally when I owned a fence company, I always wanted some like professional photos done, but I didn't know who to go to. It was like, I'm not like gonna post on Facebook and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's one, I don't have the time to do it. I don't know where to look. I don't know who's good, those kinds of things. So I just never did it. So I'm like, look, I have a massive email list. I can basically get you work. It's more or less you need to figure this out and start offering it to other people. And I kept on saying it to him, I'm like, I hope you understand, like, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to leave you off better than I found you, right? And I said, like, basically the job was kind of like for him, what he was doing, he was constantly trying to get better at something that he's just naturally not good at, right? And that's what schools do to us, that we are constantly taught ingrained to basically keep on working on the things that we're really bad at. But the more and more, especially as I'm about to be 40 this year, and it took too long to realize this, that, school makes you feel inadequate, but the real winners and the people that are really successful in life, they don't double down on the shit that they're bad at and try to like improve. Like, you focus on like what you're really good at and you give the rest to everyone else, right? Because for me, like the day-to-day operations and a few other things, like, it's not in my wheelhouse, right? But that's where my wife comes, involved, and that's where we have our different team members now that they're naturally just better at it, right? And it's things that, there's things that we are either not good at, we don't enjoy, or it's not a good use of our time. And that stuff we can easily give away to other people. Now, I had a conversation with another fence company today, like a little bit after, and he was saying like about starting his business over and employees, and I'm like, look, you got to realize, because he doesn't like to give up control, but I'm like, you got to realize that more than likely there's two trains of thought. One could be that no one's going to care as much as you do, right? And you have to accept that you're only going to get 80% of like what your quote unquote standards are, because it's not really what your standards are, it's what your customer standards are, right? And even though some people may not feel okay with that, but like you kind of have to set the expectations with the customers, right? And so I said, like, that's the one option. Or the other option is like you have to find experts at like each individual areas and be willing to pay for that person, because if they're going to be an expert, like, then you're probably looking at multiple six-figure positions if you want it done at a better level than even you can do, right? So that's really about it. I just wanted to kind of talk about it because it was a shitty day for me, but it did feel like after it was all said and done, like the weight was lifted off my shoulders for a few reasons. One, I really was not looking forward to this conversation. Again, I have a lot of experience with letting people go, but it's the first person in a while, and it was first person that I just genuinely liked, and they were trying. And I told them, like, look, if this was, next year when our business is doubled and stuff like that, when money is not a concern, like, I would have put you in something else, because my company probably could have absorbed the cost. But I'm like, we just physically, we can't afford just to, like, and say carry dead weight, but more or less carry dead weight, right? And I shouldn't say dead weight, because, like, he was a valuable person within the team. It's just he wasn't, his best just wasn't good enough. But again, like, I feel like he's gonna, hopefully he takes me up on this offer. I told him to take a few days to like kind of collect himself, kind of go through the motions, stuff like that. And basically from there, I can help him get this thing jump started, so that way he can offer job site photos to other people. So if you're in the New Jersey area, like hopefully South Jersey area, if you need job site photos done, like, let me know. And then I can basically let him know. The goal is basically to have, there's a handful of guys that are, order from us all the time. We're probably going to do some kind of package where maybe I send them out for a day to take pictures. and then he can see you know, what's involved, and then basically has these like more or less case studies so you can show other people, and then from there I can offer it out for him for, you know, contacts that I have. And then I told him like ways that he can get other people that would be interested in as well. And I do think it would be better off for him, you know, because like at the end of the day, he was working, if he's working 40 hours a week, he's going to make roughly about around 40,000, somewhere around there, a little bit less. But with doing this picture thing, I'm like, even if you do like some kind of like discounted price at like $79 for this, you know, this per job site, I'm like, even if you do 3 a day, you know, at that point, if you're doing 3 a day, it's 240. You're looking at like 1,200. What's that? 1,200 a week, and then from there you're looking at like $60,000. So you're making like a 50% increase, but you're also working half as much because it doesn't take that long to do these pictures. And then his wife is she has some kind of medical issues where she's not able to work. And then what she ends up, like she can do the editing of the photos. Like that's what they do anyway. So I'm like, it could work out to be something really great where you're doing this. And kind of going back to this larking, which I think it's larking, but it's basically beating the shit out of other people. He's always taking time off to travel around the country, going to Tennessee and these other places. I'm like, you could like start reaching out to like contractors in that area and then start actually getting paid to go beat the shit out of people. Like, it's like, I'm like, I know this is a shitty situation now, but I really do think if you go forward with this, this is something that can, like, I think it's going to be life-changing for him. I don't know what he wants to make personally, you know, financially and stuff like that, but, like, the fact to be able to work with your wife that he really, really loves, and he really enjoys this hobby that he did. And then speaking of which, he started his own chapter in this area. So he basically more or less started kind of like, if you want to think about it as a non-profit almost, he already has the determination to continue with something from scratch, even though there's not really much, of a, it's kind of like starting a YouTube channel. Like I'm still at 300 subscribers after how many videos, but it's very difficult for most people to just keep on going without seeing immediate results. And the fact that he was able to do that, I'm like, you can do this. So I'm feeling very hopeful. I felt like shit. I felt like an asshole, but it had to be done. I couldn't afford to sink the ship for one person. And like, honestly, looking like towards next year when we double in business, we're gonna be twice as busy, and he's already kind of falling, you know, everyone's here, he's here, and he's already falling behind as it is. But now, and I'm like, look, like right now we're kind of like jogging, right? I said next year we're gonna be sprinting. Like you're already falling behind on us right now. Like you're kind of walking at a brisk walk where we're jogging. So you're kind of like, we're going at 5 miles an hour, you're going at 3. But pretty soon we're going to be going at 12 miles an hour and you're still at 3. Like you're just going to be lapped, right? So I hope this helps someone. It'll be great looking back at this, honestly. I hope he takes my advice, and I hope he finds something, even if he doesn't want to do this. But I think we'll be able to look back at this and see what a big change it was. So have a good one.